What's going on, guys? Anime Okage back at it again, and I'm sorry for the delay on all my chapters and everything coming out. We had my girlfriend moving into my house, different home projects happening that required my attention right there, and it just kind of got out of hand. So, with that, I promise to be more consecutive and be more on time with my chapter reviews. I don't want to keep you guys waiting, and I love the audience that I have already attained with starting this channel. So forgive me. Things are slowing down in my life though, and we will begin to make sure that there are more consistent chapters coming out. Without further ado though, let's get into it. JJK chapter 268. By the way, I have recorded this chapter at least 5 times now because every time that I record it, something else goes wrong with my recording. Something goes wrong with me being stupid and like doing the entire video without hitting record. My brain's jumbled, so 5th time through. Let's hit it. The chapter begins with Sukuna and Megumi in this spirit realm talking back and forth and being able to commune with each other. Within Megumi's body, of course. Sukuna is giving one last-ditch effort trying to talk Megumi down from taking over the body again and getting away from Sukuna as his vessel. He says, "Just how do you think you'll be able to go on? You had your body stolen by me. You killed your sister with your own hands, and you turned away other hands reaching out to try and save you. What makes you feel like that you are worth having this body? And on top of that, the one that you saved, Yuji, ended up slaughtering thousands at Shibuya when I took over his body." So Sukuna is really just trying to lay it on thick to suppress Megumi's soul and put him back in the underveil of their spirit world so that Sukuna can retain control. Megumi is getting his strength back though, and he's getting his confidence back. You can see it in his resolve. And that's when Sukuna begins to turn to this weird shadowy form. He looks like something out of Full Metal Alchemist. He says to Megumi, "Give it up. There's no way that you can live a proper life at this point. Just relax and leave it all to me." And this is when Megumi gives his response. Simply starting out with, "Why do you sound so desperate?" And he starts to bring up the fact, is it because there's only one finger left? Only one more of your fingers in this world left that have not been absorbed and used. Saying that if Yuji rips him from his body now, and resonance also in play, there's no way that that one finger can connect to the soul that these 19 fingers have accumulated. So with that one finger being in existence, there is no way for Sukuna to return to his proper form. And Megumi brings up, even something like you fears death. Which is why Sukuna even did the reincarnation to begin with. He was afraid that he would never be able to fight anybody strong again, which is why he made himself into a cursed object in order to fight someone stronger in the future whenever he could be revived once again. He ensures Sukuna that he never was going to live a proper life. He never has lived a proper life. But there are people in this world worth living for, not just himself. So Megumi tells Sukuna, "I think just one more time, I'm going to try living again, but not for me, but to add to other people's lives." And with that, we cut back into reality from the spirit world, and we see that Yuji's domain is beginning to crumble and collapse. And with this, we get the follow-up of the Black Flash that Yuji landed in the last chapter. And as he strikes, Megumi is flying out of the back of what looks to be some kind of weird flesh amalgamation that's left in Sukuna's wake. And this is really cool because this answers a question for me. Whenever Megumi was going to revert back to his regular form, I was wondering how they were going to do that, or if they were going to be able to do it at all. Was Megumi going to be stuck with the Sukuna Heian era body? Was it going to disintegrate or melt away in like anime fashion of a transformation ending? I had no idea how they were going to do this, but I kind of like this to where Sukuna had built up this body around Megumi's body. And so whenever Megumi is released from it forcefully, all that extra flesh that Sukuna had added on to Megumi's body is left by itself. And we have to remember there's going to be a lot of flesh because Sukuna was a very large, intimidating being. He was very large in himself, and plus he had extra limbs. He had the face mask thing on half of his head. So there was a lot added on, and I'm happy to see how it's finally coming apart. We can see in that same panel that even the arms that Sukuna had grown out from Megumi's sides break off and begin to disintegrate, leaving wounds there on his sides. And with this, we can see Megumi flying backwards while Sukuna is trying to reach out and regain his vessel once again. And he's successful in grabbing onto Megumi, but he no longer has the strength or the protection that he had with the vessel. So his body begins to engulf in flames and crisp away, making him die. And so we cut to an aerial view where we see Yuji still in the stance from the Black Flash, Megumi on the other side of the roof, and between them, the flaming flesh amalgamation of Sukuna, or what's left of him. Sukuna is desperately looking up at Megumi's body, wanting his vessel back, but then he sees the shadow of Yuji loom over him, and that's when we get to see Sukuna, I believe for the first time, truly in fear. You can see it on his face, or the little flesh pile that is a face. You can see him truly being afraid and fearful of what's going to happen to him next, I think for the first time in this series. Yuji stands menacingly over him without giving him some choice words. And the choice words surprise me. He says, "What's it gonna be, Sukuna?" And it reverts back to whenever they went down his domain expansion of Memory Lane. And they were talking, and he threatened Sukuna, saying, "Release Fushiguro and return to me, and I'll spare your life." He continues by saying, "Sukuna, you are me." And Yuji reaches down to grab what's left of the flaming flesh pile and pick it up and cradle it in his hands. And this is where I, as a reader, am starting to get confused, because now it's coming out that Yuji is wanting to give Sukuna a second chance and take him back into his body again. He says that we are born unconsciously shouldering curses in our lives. But what monster we become entirely relies on luck of the draw of how we're born in this world and with who. Yuji refers back to his grandpa, saying that he had him to put him on the right path and direct him in the correct way. And of course, when Yuji is referring to this, he's talking about how Yuji was born in this world as a death wound painting. He was born as a cursed vessel. But Sukuna is kind of the same thing, because before being born, Sukuna ate his twin brother in the womb, and he came out shouldering a curse as well. So in that facet, they are a lot alike. Yuji then says, "Sukuna, let's try one more time. Living not by cursing someone, but living alongside them." Because it's either Yuji has caught feelings for Sukuna and he wants to feel like he's trying to save him and give him a second chance, but Sukuna is not someone who had a good side to them, who just misunderstood and just needs a second chance. Sukuna slaughtered and ate women and children. He killed thousands without remorse, not even seeing them as human beings or anything other than insects. It's not like he was a good guy that just caught a bad break. Given he did catch the bad break by consuming his twin whenever he was born, but that's no reason to just be able to kill everybody and mercilessly and not have a second thought about it. And Yuji keeps going, saying, "If no one else will accept you, I'll live with you." Which you could just let him burn up and die at this point, and there's no way of seeing Sukuna return. You're saving him right now. The person that killed and hurt your friends, he caused this much dismay and destruction and chaos within your life and this much pain. And I guess it's for character development of Yuji never wants to just kill anyone mercilessly or anything like that. He wants to try and save everyone he can, but I think there's an exception for this one. Just this one. So I understand Yuji's character, but this is literally the main antagonist of the series that they've been trying to subdue and or destroy since the beginning. If Gojo was able to kill Sukuna, would Yuji have been mad at Gojo because he got rid of him without giving him a second chance? I don't really like this right now, but I am willing to let Gege show me why I should like it. So we'll keep going because there's only 3 more chapters in this entire story apparently. So we're going to keep going and see if this makes sense. Maybe Yuji wants him for a power-up and maybe they have an understanding of each other now. So Maybe there'll be a chibi version of Sukuna living within Yuji, like Kurama whenever Kurama accepted Naruto. I don't know, but at the end of the series, if there's not going to be anything more after this, I don't see why this makes sense. So Sukuna responds to Yuji and says, "I'm surprised that you would take this far so far, Itadori Yuji." And that's important. That is important because Sukuna only refers to people by their full or real name once he respects them in battle and sees them as a worthy foe or adversary. You have earned Sukuna's respect, so he will address you as you are, and not as an insect, not as a brat, nothing like that. He is going to respect you and address you as he should. He goes on to tell Yuji, "Don't underestimate me. I'm still a curse." That's when we move away from Yuji and Sukuna, and we move back over to Hikari and Uraume there, speaking about now that they can sense that the fight is over. Since Hikari says, "It looks like it's all over, what are you going to do now?" Uraume says, "There's nothing left. That was it. And there's nothing more to do." And Uraume makes sure that he puts in a last word about the fight, saying the only reason that you guys succeeded was because Sukuna was using a reincarnated form and not his true form from the very beginning. Uraume says it was just luck on your side, and the luck was that you were born 1,000 years too late. Which I don't agree with, because using that reincarnated form with the 10 Shadows technique, Sukuna was able to highly utilize Maharaga in order to find out the weakness or a way past infinity when it came to fighting Gojo. If he did not have the 10 Shadows technique, plus after he got done fighting Gojo, that kind of like rebirth back to 100% health of transforming into his Heian era, I don't think he would have won. Because if it was just Sukuna versus Gojo and the guys and the team, I think it would have been a wrap. It would have been high diff, but it would have been a wrap. Because Gojo would have never had his infinity saw through or a way past his infinity. Maharaga is the only way that Sukuna found this out. And it was after a long time of studying Maharaga and finding out how this happened. So I don't agree that it was just because of why Sukuna won. It's definitely a high diff situation, I believe, when it comes to Heian era fighting all the team and Gojo from the very beginning in that state. But I don't think Sukuna wins in that situation. Anyways, back to Hikari and Uraume talking. Hikari says, "If it was luck on my side, that's the highest praise a guy like me can get. Seeing is that his entire character is a domain expansion, everything revolves around luck." Uraume gives a little smile and says, "I suppose you're right." And after that, Uraume completely dissolves into this ice dust and just flows into the wind and passes away. So we get to see that Uraume is confirmed unalived, is confirmed gone. And this is big because we all thought for a minute that Uraume may jump in at the last second to save Sukuna if Sukuna ever were to be losing, or if he's in the state he is now removed from the vessel. We don't know how Uraume would have saved him, maybe froze him in place so that he is in cryostasis or something like that. But that is not going to happen. Uraume is going to pass just like Sukuna is. Or I really don't know if Sukuna is now. Because if he's taken back into Yuji's body, he's still going to survive in a sense. Given Yuji is a lot stronger these days and probably be able to suppress Sukuna, Sukuna is also a lot stronger than he was whenever he was inside Yuji. So I don't like this purely for the fact that Sukuna could take back over again if he wanted to and not give it back to Yuji. Plus, their binding vow, I believe, is still in effect. I think it is. The in-chain, if he says that, and he gets to take over Yuji's body for a full minute as long as he doesn't kill anybody or hurt anybody, which he still has the loophole of he can hurt Yuji's body, just no one else's. Looks like we're moving on. Be it Sukuna is in Yuji's body or Sukuna has passed away, we're going to keep moving on. Because we pop back into the present day, and Megumi is waking up in a bed. Really cool room, by the way. He's waking up in a bed and kind of, coming to grips with what's going on. And as he wakes up, he sees Yuji and Nobara trying to hide Nobara in a box so she can jump out and surprise Megumi like a gift. It seems that Megumi always catches Yuji and Nobara doing these dumb things, and it's kind of refreshing to see him come back to that as soon as he wakes up from this very, very long possession in battle. As Megumi walks up to the group, he asks what's going on, and she says, trying to pull a Kugisaki lives prank. And Megumi says, oh, my bad for like ruining it, my bad. And Nobara is shocked that they're not freaking out that she's still alive. They had their moment of freaking out, at least Yuji did. She's saying the biggest piece of eye candy was 6 feet under, and you guys just found out that she's still living. How are you not pissing your pants or crying? And Yuji says, yeah, I cried a little bit whenever I first saw the residents come out. And Megumi says, I wasn't really surprised at all. I could see everything happening from inside of Sukuna. And Nobara says, I guess you have to be there for those kind of things since you weren't really there. And that's when Yuji brings up that Gojo left letters for Megumi and Nobara. So he passes the letters to him, and he says that he didn't get one because he got to talk to Gojo directly, so he had no need for a letter. Nobara says, I can't even think of Gojo writing letters. It just gives her the ick. And Megumi says, oh, let's get this over with and read them. Nobara sees hers and immediately crumples it up in her hand once she reads it. And after she crumples it up, Yuji says, what did it say? And she says that it had whereabouts of her mother and what her mother was doing at that point to inform her of her family. And Yuji says, you didn't want to know about it? She goes, not even a little bit. So she immediately tosses that to the side. And that's whenever they look over at Megumi reading his letter and beginning to laugh. And Nobara says, what, did you get promoted to special grade or something like that? And that's when they're just as shocked as we are that Fushiguro is actually laughing. I don't know if he's ever done this in the series, much less after just waking up from this super traumatizing thing that he went through. And as Yuji and Nobara begin to read the letter, their faces change to, and the letter says, unfortunately, your daddy's dead and buried because I killed the dude. Sorry. And it has Gojo's emoji face drawn on it. It's so Gojo fashion. And if we don't get to see Gojo again, then this is definitely a good little send-off of his more cheery side that he had. And that's whenever the clock strikes and they go, oh shoot, we gotta go right now. Nobara gets up to leave and says, come on, you're coming too, Fushiguro. Even though Megumi doesn't know what's going on. But Yuji explains, they said that everybody has to come. And Megumi says, oh right, I have to apologize to everybody and thank them for everything they did. And Nobara cuts him off saying that has nothing to do with it. Megumi is confused and Yuji explains that it's about Yuta. If you guys remember, we didn't get to see what happened to Yuta after he lapsed after the curse technique ran out. And also, I have to say, him taking over Gojo's body was a major letdown. Not really much happened with that. I guess it gave Todo the upper hand of his domain being everywhere and being able to use Boogie Woogie to its full extent, but still, it just didn't do much. And I was really expecting for a lot more damage to be dealt with Gojo's body. Anyways, we cut to shots of everybody beginning to make their way towards a central location, and we have everybody. We have Panda, we have Maki, we have Kusakabe, Miwa, Momo. We have everybody. So it's like a big giant joint effort, and I guess they're gonna pull together their cursed energy in order to save Yuta possibly. And someone says, Yuta, you son of a bitch. And Megumi says, is this what saving Yuta is supposed to sound like? With the nervous sweat mark that anime put in there or manga put in there. Overall, I like this chapter. It's a good chapter. I'm waiting to see how much I like this chapter based upon the future ones, to see if I like the way that JJK is ending, because in these last 5 chapters, this is truly the end to see how everything is going. And so I'm happy to let Gege have his room and keep moving forward and showing us his vision for the end. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me, and thank you for coming to the channel. I'll see you next time, and see you later. Anime Okage out.